Good morning, and welcome to Taria J. Speaks Tranquility Session. Before we begin, let's start out by doing some deep breathing exercises. And while we breathe, let's remember to purge ourselves of any negative energy that we have allowed to consume us. In through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Continue to breathe while I give you some further instructions on your breathing. Remember to breathe from your diaphragm. You should feel your stomach expand as you're inhaling through your nose and blow it out of your mouth. Nice and slow. Be mindful to extend those breaths to the very tips of your fingers and your toes as you feel the toxic energy being released from your body. Today's word of the day is fear. The definition of fear is an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by an expectation or awareness of danger. Fear can also be an instance of or a state marked by its emotion. Or it can be an anxious concern or a profound reverence, especially towards God. Another definition of fear is to have a reverent awe of, as in God, or to be in fear of something. So I'm going to just repeat these definitions a little bit further. I'm going to kind of make a reference here. Fear is an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by expectation or awareness of danger. So if we know, like, this is saying that it's an immediate feeling of something that we're expecting. So like I say, if we're going to a scary movie or we're going to a haunted house, we know we are going to be afraid once we get inside, and a lot of times we fear what's really behind that door or what's coming up in that next moment in a scary movie. The second definition that it gave was interesting to me: an anxious concern. So what does that sound like to you guys? Like a phobia, like something that you're not really afraid of it because you haven't really experienced it. It's just an anxiety thing. So a lot of our phobias are more anxiety than they are fear, but because of how they make us feel, we're in fear of those things. Okay? Let's move on. The next definition it gave was profound reverence, especially towards God. Now, fear is something that, when you talk about religion, especially for those spiritual listeners out there, fear is something that we have to find a balance with, because we want to be condemned enough to fear God. We want to feel that fear of what He's capable of, and how He's able to reprimand us for the things that we've done wrong. So we want to have that type of feeling in our heart. We don't want to feel like we're just going to get away with everything, because obviously if we knew that there was no consequences for the things that we did throughout our life, we wouldn't know what a true fear was. But then again, on the other side, as a spiritual person, you do not want to fear God. You want to trust and believe in Him. I don't think that fear is something that we should have in reverence to God as a whole. I think that maybe it should be from just the power and the different things that God is able to do, based on how faithful or how faithless we are. So I'm going to give you just a second to reflect on what we just talked about as with this fear. Um, as these situations come up in your life, I want you to just continue to breathe and just focus on the sound of my voice as we go into just a little bit more in depth of what fear is to us. Keep breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. Focus on the rate of your heart. Let the rhythm, your natural rhythm, cloud your mind with just a beautiful harmony. Just let it linger around in your brain. That sound, that beating of your heart. That is a blessing. What you are feeling, what you're feeling, what you're hearing, that beat that you hear, all the motions, all the breathing, all the breaths that you take, it's life. You are living in the moment. So as we continue on with fear, before I wrap up, I do just want to give a few synonyms for the word fear so that we're not confused or misguided by the information that I've just provided to you. Fear, dismay, dread, fright, horror, panic, terror, trepidation, apprehension, foreboding, misgiving. Think about those words, okay? And as we close, I'm just going to give you a chance to hear a personal way that fear has impacted my life. Sometimes when we are growing, growth was our word last week, but sometimes as we're growing through life and through the many different phases of life, we get so consumed by making wrong decisions or making mistakes that we fear proceeding on with life because of a bad experience. So today my message for you is to never let fear take away your life. Fear is something that it's controlled by emotions. It's just a feeling. They say mind over matter, right? They tell you it's all in your brain. It's all in your mind. And if only we knew how to tap into the same energy that puts fear into our heart and turn that energy into joy, we would be in a much better place, not only as a community, but as a world, as the human race. We would be in a much better place if we would learn how to let go of all inhibitions and just live in the moment, not in fear. We should never be so consumed by fear that we are afraid to be our true selves, no matter what God has called us to be. We should be able to live in our truth. Now, if you live in fear, you can find yourself depressed, on the verge of a mental breakdown, malnourished, unkept. You can find yourself in a very dangerous place that may be hard for you to come out of. It sounds so easy to address your fears, just to stand up and be strong and convince yourself that I am stronger than this. But it's really not that easy. It takes a lot of spiritual meditation. It takes a lot of knowing and valuing yourself. And it also takes a lot of joy. Just like where they say, where there is dark, there is always light. Where there is fear, there is always joy. Find your joyful place and never be fearful to live. Thank you all for your time, and thank you for sharing this space with me. I hope you have a blessed day, and please come back to visit me next week for another calming experience. The voice you have heard today is that of Taria J.